Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book Rhymer Hoode by Gregory Frost. This is a new release this month from Baen Books and Gregory Frost. I was sent an early copy to review of the book, and I had actually read last year the first book in this trilogy, Rhymer. I enjoyed it. I gave it like a 7 out of 10. I had positives, I had negatives, but as a net positive, I enjoyed it. And I actually interviewed Gregory Frost last year on the channel. So look up Gregory Frost, Rhymer, Jonathan Cohn interview. You'll find it. It was great to talk to him. And so I picked up this book, and since I had joined the first book, I was like, let's see how I feel about the second book. As you can guess by the title, Rhymer Hoode, that sounds like Robin Hood. Yes, because that's the major part of this book. The first book is talking about Thomas the Rhymer, and that is a character from ballads that was fighting off basically the dark fairies, the dark elves. And the elves in this series are not the Rivendell from like the Lord of the Rings movies. No, not that kind of elves. The elves in this book are the evil alien snatching up bodies, inhabiting the bodies, doing horrible things to humans type stuff. And this is set in the 1100s. This book follows Thomas the Rhymer in the 1200s, and this time he assumes the identity of a man, Robin Hood. And it's spelled differently. It's spelled Robin with a Y and Hood with an E. But obviously it's supposed to be a play on the character of Robin Hood from myth and culture. And so this book is, this time it's like kind of like, what if Robin Hood was fighting off the evil elves? And it was quite fascinating as a book. I really enjoy the plot and the characters and the themes in this book. The plot, characters, and themes I'll go on in a moment are great. But the book is tied down by one problem, and it is the exact same problem that the first book had, and that is the approachability of the writing style. When you are writing a fantasy book, there is an element of approachability, especially with a book this short, because you want your audience to jump in and have a good time and read the book. The book writing style honestly feels like it comes out of maybe the 1970s or the 60s. And I'm not talking about the worldview in the book. I'm talking about the way that word choice is made, the way that the pacing of the book works, the way that just the book unfolds, the style of the book does not feel modern. It does not feel fast-paced. It does not feel like that ease of reading that a lot of modern books, even a lot of Baen books have. And so it feels a little bit more academic. Like this is more like if you had to force a literary teacher to read a fantasy book, they would probably want to pick up this because it feels like it's more literary in elements. Despite the fact that it's still an adventure story, it's still a fun fantasy adventure, it has that writing style type to it. So I think that this book series, the biggest turnoff for people is going to be the writing style. The biggest thing that people are going to love is the way it deals with the elves, makes them dark, evil elves, and also has, I think, great characters and great plot and great themes. So getting into the plot, basically, Little John approaches Robin Hood and says, hey, I just killed this guy, and it turned out he was an evil elf alien type thing. What is going on? This is totally weird. And so Thomas the Rhymer goes under the pseudonym Robin Hood, and he basically goes to the town of Nottingham to try to find out who these evil elves are. And you can very much guess who it is. If you know the story of Robin Hood, you could be like, oh, that's who they're going to choose to be the evil elves. But along the way, they pick up some allies, people that help them out. Isabella, who is a great character. You have Little John, who is a great character. And then, of course, you have the main character, Thomas. They are all very fascinating. They're all very multifaceted. And you feel for all of them, particularly Thomas. Thomas goes through the ringer in these books. He has had a tough life. And he's not always, repaid for the things he does in kind. He does good things to help people out, and he is not helped out himself. His life stinks. So you really connect with the characters. And Isabella, she just has a terrible connection with her husband and her family and the issues that she's dealing with as one of the leaders of the town, being someone that deals with all the crime, and having her have to deal with the kind of like the outlaws was really fascinating. And then, of course, you have the elves. The elves are evil and horrifying and are excellent villains. And of course, you have Nycnavan, who is the queen elf, who's kind of in charge of it all. But you also meet an elf named, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's pronounced like Zaned or Zanad or whatever, how you pronounce that name. That character was creepy and freaky and was like, ugh, I want to get her off the screen. Ugh, she's freaking me out. And so there's also one other evil elf that I cannot tell you spoilers about, but there's another elf in this book that I was like, ooh, that's an interesting way of dealing with that. So the villains I thought were very well handled. There's also some themes. There's themes about self-sacrifice in the book that I kind of alluded to earlier. There's themes about duty and honor in the book that I really liked. There's also themes about good governance that are dealt with in the book. And again, all of those themes are very low. They're not like hitting you over the head with them. They just kind of naturally unfold in the story. And I just thought, oh, that's an interesting way of dealing with that. That's kind of interesting. It's not like it was like, you must understand the self-sacrifice. No, it was like, oh, that character has to give this up in order to do this. Oh, that's really interesting. Like, I thought it was really well handled. It is subtle themes, but I think they're handled very well. And again, the plot of this book, I don't want to get into spoilers of it, but the plot was really interesting, and one of the characters gets captured, and I was like, oh, it's going to happen to him because I know what the elves do in book 1. So I really enjoyed that element of it. Again, the book is very difficult to get into. I think that if you read book 1 and if you loved it, I think that you're going to love book 2. And if you read book 1 and was like, I didn't really get into it that much, does it pick up? I feel like you're going to have the exact same issue in book 2. It's like, book 2 is like 30 pages shorter than book 1 is, but I mean, that's not a huge deal. I mean, one book is 350 pages, the other is 320 pages. But I think if you read book 1 and you loved it, great, read book 2. If you read book 1, didn't love it, don't bother picking up book 2. That's my general feel about it. I'm going to give it basically the same rating that I gave book 1. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it, and I think that, again, the plot, characters, and themes carry this book. But I just think that the writing style drags it so much further down than it should. This should be a top-tier book, and it just isn't. But I still really enjoyed it. So I wanted the record to show I really enjoyed this book. So if you've read Rhymer Hoode, which is a new release, or if you just read the first book, let me know your thoughts on the first book. And if you've read other Robin Hood type stories, let me know your thoughts on them in the comments down below. And also, please subscribe to the channel. So until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.